Live from Las Vegas, Nevada. You're watching Shaking It Up with the Sharks. Starring Johnny Richardson and Katie Meadows.
Welcome back to Shaking It Up with the Sharks. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an amazing guest on tonight. Another East Coast guy. He is just unbelievable. Gonna go through his story, and tonight is gonna be an amazing night. We have Oscar Carboni in the house, and thank you, Oscar, for coming down and giving us some of your time tonight. We're looking so forward to it.
Thank you for the invitation, my friend. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Definitely.
So, what's going on this evening?
Well, I tell you what, it's another, Monday night here.
Monday
Appreciate
evening.
you coming by
late. It is a holiday, though, right?
It is a holiday, yep. We have Labor Day going on, but we're still at it, still working and enjoying our time and celebrating at the same time. How was your Labor Day?
So, first Labor Day, I can't remember not having a barbecue on Labor Day, except for this one.
Really?
It was my day
That wasn't
off,
because of
and
us,
I
right?
relaxed. No, not at all.
Okay, all
I
right,
just
there you
decided
go.
I was going to hit the couch and veg out and do something I never do. So that's what I did.
Okay. What'd you do last Labor Day?
Probably we had a barbecue. We usually have parties and entertainment and have people over as often as we can.
Okay.
It's you grew up back east. There's always parties. You invite people over for holidays. There's the cookout for every occasion. So here it's not so much, but we sort of keep the tradition.
That's what
alive.
I was going to say. Over in the East Coast, when I go back home and visit, it's all about stopping at this person's house, grubbing it up,
No
having
doubt.
drinks. all that
Sometimes you
good
go to
stuff.
3 or 4,
Yeah.
2 friends, 2 family members. You have a little fun on the
definitely.
whole holiday.
And you're not going to leave without eating, so you're going to have
No
dinner like
doubt.
4 or 5 times. No,
Back
100%.
east, you know how that food is.
Yes.
Families love to serve.
That is right. So over here, you spent 14 years in Vegas so far, correct?
Yeah, this will be going on my 15th year.
Okay.
Imagine that.
So you have 15 years out here, and it sounds like if you're having people over in parties, you have built quite a network of people and close friends. Luckily,
over time, yes, we've learned to make some really close friends, and there are so many good people in Vegas. There's a thing about Vegas. There's just a little bit of magic in this place. And just today, I told you I was sitting on the couch doing nothing, right?
Yeah.
So today I'm watching this documentary about how Vegas came to be. And one of the things that caught my attention, the guy said, Vegas is the type of place, this is 1905. Vegas is the type of place that if you come to Vegas and you don't somehow become successful, you've done something wrong, not Vegas.
And this was from 1905.
05. And I went,
really?
It is
That's pretty
still
amazing.
the same today. That's how this town is. If you come here and try to make it work, it will work for you.
100%.
You can really do well here, but if you come here and expect it to just happen for you, you end up a tragedy and get sent home, as far as I can see.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people I meet that are from the West Coast, they mention East Coast people have a different mentality, different work ethic. And I think coming out here, and if you have that strong work ethic, like people like us,
Sure.
and come out here and really press it, and then you combine that with the opportunity, it's just limitless at the end of the day.
I agree. And, we do learn, I've learned from coming across the country, the work ethic you learn back east slightly differs from the work ethic I've noticed out here. A little bit too relaxed here, which is why if you show up here, you can make something happen.
Yeah, definitely 100% run circles around people.
Yeah, so it seems, if you try hard.
Yeah, and not to say anybody's bad people,
No,
it's
not
just
at
a
all.
different way
Slightly
people
different
are brought
dynamic.
Up. Yeah, 100%.
Sometimes people are in their car without a purpose. They're not driving with a purpose. And back east, you learn if you're in your car, there's a reason. If you're doing anything, there's a purpose behind it. So it's a little faster and you expect more from it. So I think when you bring that attitude out to Vegas, it's a good attitude to have.
It definitely is. So that was interesting, that documentary there. You saw everything building in Vegas. When you went ahead and watched that, what did it look like when you were watching that in 1905? It's pretty interesting.
Basically, it was a railroad town. They never expected Vegas to become anything more than serve for a while. And then what happened around that railroad was more and more people showed up, and ingenuity figured out how to make the water work for them. And Prohibition started. A few years later, Prohibition came in. Vegas, 1 year before Prohibition, decided we're going to create Prohibition ourselves before the country did it. But their Prohibition was take down all the signs that show that you serve alcohol, but you don't have to stop serving the alcohol itself. So Vegas never had a prohibition. All through prohibition, you could come out to Vegas and find your alcohol.
Really?
Yeah, the sheriff of the town at the time said, I cannot understand why a law would be made that tells anyone when they can't have a drink, so I will not enforce it. You come to Vegas, don't worry about drinking.
Yeah, forget about it. Have a ball.
That's how it became what it became, because in this country, if you decided to make the trek, which wasn't easy back then.
Oh, yeah.
If you wanted to come to Vegas and drink and party, it was here. And that sort of stuck. And eventually,
man, so that's what gave it the original mindset. This is the city, come have a good time.
Right.
Like, yeah.
The mindset in Vegas was, we don't like to be told what to do here.
Yeah.
We like to make our own rules, so we'll make our own rules.
That's pretty interesting. I had no idea.
It's that way today, if you ask me. It's more of a free place.
It is 100%.
Than back east, for sure.
Even take it what we just went through with the whole pandemic. I feel we were pretty blessed in this town overall. I mean, there were some restrictions, but overall, we were still going out to restaurants, casinos were open. We could still go out and enjoy life, opposed to other locations had a little bit more rough.
You know, for me, I didn't even get a chance to pick my head up and notice COVID, because I work from a place. I've got 7 offices on one property, and I work from office to office, and I don't have to go anywhere to do my job unless I feel like taking it on the road. So for me, it just got busier. COVID came along and I went home. COVID's happening. Everyone's going to work from home. See how you like this now, people. I've been doing it for a long time. Let's see what you people think of working from home.
So you have the 7 offices that you go between. Do you like it like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you enjoy it.
What I do is, because we have to follow markets and they're open 24 hours a day, imagine sitting in one office, a little spot. Let's say you make a spare bedroom your office, but you're in it for 20 hours out of the day. You can't do that. It's just too much. So I have indoor offices, outdoor offices, offices on the top level, the bottom level. 2 of them are in my bedroom. You know, anywhere I want to look, I can live at that spot and do my job from there.
That's a really good idea, because that's what messes me up, is working here, which is not that often. But let's say if it's a Saturday, it's a little bit later, I'll work from the home office. But after being on that computer for a couple hours, and I'm not doing stocks like what you're doing, I'm working on deals and real estate, but even being in that one section will drive you crazy.
Oh, sure.
So that was a really good idea. Did somebody give you that idea, or is that something you came up with to kind of adapt?
It sort of grew into it as, you know, so I started with 3 rooms as an office. And then, but that's all in one spot. You walk in one door and it's all 3 rooms, but you're still sort of in the same area. Eventually I decided, you know, let's put one in the living room, and then one hit my bedroom, and then the second one hit the bedroom, and then now they're everywhere. And, you know, Michael, who is in charge of filming this extravaganza for you, was one of the people that helped me set all of that stuff up.
Oh, so, really?
Yeah, he was there to see it all.
This guy's been holding back. I have to use him for more more services. What is going on here?
He's got fantastic qualities.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's done an amazing job there. He had a great uncle bringing him up as far as the filming goes. So
you know, you can only point. The kids have to take from that, and he took it and ran with the ball.
Definitely.
So very proud of you, Michael, even though you guys can't see him back there.
Give him his props behind the camera. So speaking of which, with your family, Michael, you made a decision to come out here about 15 years ago in Vegas. And we were talking about a story before the cameras came on that was pretty interesting. So a lot of people are just scared and nervous for certain sections of Vegas, and figured which we're going in the direction of North Vegas right now. It's a beautiful view.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but then you decided to take it to the next level and really test how dangerous it was.
You know, the thought crossed my mind that Vegas reminded me of Staten Island, New York, when I was 15 years old.
Okay.
Just reminded me of home. A little bit less crowded, but still cosmopolitan. Cars are driving at 4 in the morning. It's not dead, but the streets aren't full. You know, houses have driveways, and they're not so close to one another. I thought, great place to live. But is it safe? I keep hearing about Oscar, no matter what you do, never go to North Las Vegas. So how tough can North Las Vegas be? And I'm wondering, if I move my family, I've got 3 children to Las Vegas and my wife, will they be safe? So my New York back east upbringing made me decide to test it in my own way. So I call a cab and I said, listen, I would like to find the worst part of Las Vegas. Where is your drug-infested worst part of town? I'd like to see it. I just want to see it for myself.
Yeah.
You know, how bad can this be? So he says, well, that would be North Las Vegas. Let me take you. And he says to me, I'm not taking you on a drug run. And I said, listen, I don't do drugs. I just want to see. I'm never going to get out of the car. So he takes me there. This is 11:30, midnight maybe, close to midnight. He takes me to North Vegas, and I realize I'm in an area because I grew up in New York City. It looks like maybe that's a prostitute, and maybe that guy's selling drugs. I don't know. This must be the spot. So I tell the cab driver, please do me a favor, pull over. And he said, I thought you weren't getting out. I said, no, this is the end of the ride for you. I'm staying. So I pay him, and he drives away reluctantly. And I decided I would walk around a little bit and walk around those few infested blocks. 12:30, 1 in the morning, and see if I get accosted. If I do, and somehow I survive, I know this is a bad neighborhood. So about 40 minutes into sitting around, I sat on a stoop of a burnt out building. No one bothered me. People walked past me, but no one really said anything. So I decided to get up and walk around, and on purpose, to test this theory, I literally brought like 300 singles or 200 singles at the time. I put them all in my pocket. I took them out of my pocket and walked around fanning my face, walking block after block at 2, 3 in the morning. And no one bothered me at all. Nobody.
They never said one word to you.
No one. And I thought, I'm still alive. I walked all the way from North Vegas back to my house, which was 2.5 hours away. I made it through, not even did someone hurl an insult at me. And I thought, well, this is not a very difficult place to live. The worst part of town seems like it's safe. And I moved my family out here.
There you go, just like that. Was your family sold right away, or did you have to sell them on it?
So I went home and said to my wife, you're not going to believe this. I've been all over the world. You and I have been all over the world. We've been to 30 or 40 states out of this nation. We never thought about leaving New York City ever. I think I want us to move to Las Vegas. And she said, what, are you crazy? Of course, like, why wouldn't she think that? And I said, well, how about this? I will fly you to Vegas, we'll rent a car, and we'll drive around. And if you don't look at me and say, this is like home when we were children, we'll not even consider the trip. Lo and behold, I took her on the plane, brought her here, we rented a car, and we were in the car 5 minutes. And she said, you're right. This is like Staten Island when we were kids. And we moved.
Really? So she was sold just like that?
But moving was interesting.
Really?
I said to her, let's do this. We don't know if we're going to love Vegas. I don't like being in the sun. I certainly don't like being landlocked. I grew up by the ocean, and I don't gamble. So why Vegas? But I did like what I felt when I was there. So let's do this. We'll rent a place in Las Vegas, and we'll leave everything in the house. Everything. The clothes will be in the drawers. The silverware will be in the drawers in the kitchen. The closets will be full. We will just leave. And if we like where we are in Vegas and we stay a few months, maybe we'll consider selling the New York house. And we did exactly that. We packed 7 boxes, my drums, her pots, a few things, and we left the house, and it looked like aliens sucked us out of the house. Because
that's too
you
funny.
opened up the door and said, where are the people? Everything's here.
Yeah.
Left it that way for 5 years.
Really? Yeah. Holy smokes. After 5 years, take it, you sold it at that point?
Maybe about 7 years deep, we
Okay.
finally decided to sell it. I had to fly back 27 times to fix this, fix that, you know.
Did you have people stay in the house sitting for
did.
you?
I had my brother-in-law stay there.
Well, that's
I
good.
told him, you can house warm for me. I'll keep cable on. I'll keep everything on. Electricity, you can stay for free. Just keep the house warm.
Okay.
So he wasn't very handy. So when things broke, he would call me, and I'd
So
like
you
to fly
fly-
up and see. Plus, I get to see my
Yeah,
family. So.
fly home to change a light bulb, stuff like that.
But then you do a little counting, and I thought, okay, after some little calculations here, I've spent more on plane trips and repairing the house than I could ever sell it for. You know,
Oh, yeah, exactly. It adds up
I've already
after a while.
overspent what that house is worth. But so we eventually got rid of it.
Holy crap.
I think right after the hurricane.
Oh, okay. Right after Sandy.
Yes.
Okay.
Which didn't get ruined, but I sold it after that.
There you go. Yeah, that was right after I left New Jersey. So there was one just before Sandy that came through. I was living in Brigantine, attached to Atlantic City right there.
Okay.
So, and then Sandy came through. Off the top of my head, I had to just get into Vegas at that time. A lot of people got hit pretty hard by it, but thank goodness it passed you.
Sandy happened. I flew back east about 4 days past Sandy, and on Highland Boulevard, the main drag on Staten Island, one of my friends, I watched him go by in a motorboat.
Really?
Right along Highland Boulevard, this motorboat.
Get out of
It
here.
flooded really, really far into Staten Island.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it was a total disaster. I literally drove around like this. Because it was where I grew up, was my friends' houses, my neighborhood, and wrecked. Everything was wrecked. Water was in some houses, past the nose of that picture that you guys can't see right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all the way up to the first floor, you name it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
really
pretty
bad.
scary stuff. Definitely is. Holy smokes.
But we don't get any of that anymore, right? We live
No,
in Vegas,
yeah,
no
no, out here in
hurricanes, no
Vegas,
tornadoes, no
we're
bad
pretty-
weather. It's beautiful here.
We are blessed out here. And that's I've been out here 11, 12-ish years. And I'm just like, why leave? I'm like, does it get hot? I think I could take that at the end of the day.
Sure.
Go through a rough August, then by then it's
But
over
that's
and now
all.
it's fine. It's back
July,
to-
August, it's a little extreme, and then it's back to, you either call it a perpetual fall or a perpetual spring,
Yeah.
all the way through Christmas. I mean, it's
It's
absolutely
true.
beautiful.
No, 100%. So it's a gorgeous place. So now you're out here now. You've been, you're in the business as far as stocks go, trading. You have a course with it. The list goes on. You're definitely, quite a bit out there. Been featured on CNN, is it?
So, sure, CNBC, CNN, many
yep.
times.
Yep, and kicked off as well.
Oh, yeah. You're not allowed to tell the truth on television. You know that.
So what got you started into the business?
Oddly enough, growing up as a blue-collar data worker, blue-collar neighborhood, I've heard of the stock market, but never heard of a commodities exchange where, if Wonder Bread needs wheat, they have to get it somewhere, right? They got to get the wheat to make the bread. Well, this thought never crossed my mind, and my life was going to be computer programming.
Okay.
I was a nerd with computer programming from 12, before there was Apple, before there was a system other than DOS, disk operating system. So there was no Windows, no anything. And I was into computers, and I had a Commodore 64 VIC-20, so my life is going to be computing. And then I hit college, and I can't wait to be a computer programmer, and 6 months into it, I said to my professor, I don't know why I would have ever chosen this. This is the most boring thing in the world. I will never be a programmer, ever. I want to learn how to program to teach others how to do what I need done, but I will never do this for a living. So as I say that, a girlfriend that I have, who knows I want to be a programmer because she used to help me type programs for hours on end when I first met her, I said, I don't know if I want to be a programmer. And she says, interestingly enough, me and 5 of my friends just got a job on the commodities exchange. Why don't you come visit me? I don't even know what this thing is. And I thought, okay, I knew she had just gotten the job. So I went up to visit her, and it's in the trade centers, for World Trade. And the elevator's open, and it's a trading floor, like in the movie, Trading Places?
Okay.
You know that movie, if you've
Yep.
ever seen it? So it's that trading floor. It was filmed where I ended up growing up on the floor. So the elevator doors open, and the screaming starts, and I think, what is going on here? I don't know anything happening, but it sounds exciting. Someone grabs me by the hand and puts a little visitor pass on me and says, let me take you over to the gold pit. This is the big pit on the commodities exchange. The gold, during the Hunt Brothers move, the whole 9 yards. So gold is like, wow, if you're in gold, you are the biggest trader on Wall Street. So they take me to this gold pit. And now, if you can picture a trading pit, it's a circle with steps that go down and steps that come up, and traders are standing on each step in circles. So a circle of traders, another one, and they're higher and higher like stadium seating. I'm standing behind so I can see their backs. They're all facing one another. So one guy in particular, screaming at the top of his lungs, 6 bid, 7 bid, yelling, screaming. He turns around and looks at me, an 18-year-old kid visitor, and he says, hey kid, you look smart. How do you spell commodities? And I think he's joking with me, and he turns back around and starts yelling. He doesn't say a word. So I think he must be joking. We're in the commodities exchange, right? This is the commodities exchange. You must know how to spell the name of the building. So after yelling and screaming, I tapped the guy next to me who brought me around. I said, who's that? He said, oh, that's Chuck. Well, I won't say his last name. That's Chuck whoever, and he's made over $10 million on this exchange. I said, him? And his brother is the head of the HUD, and he tells me about all these great things the man did. And he turns around at me again, and this time he yells full force, I asked you how to spell commodities, now you spell it. And I go, COMMODITIES. And he goes, I knew you were a smart kid. And he turns back around and starts yelling. I looked at the guy next to me, and I said, wait, let me ask you a question. He made $10 million here. He doesn't know how to spell the name of the building he's in. I said, I am quitting school today. I'm quitting day school. I'm going to night school, and I'm coming back here and getting a job. Because if I could spell the name of the building, I'm going to be rich. And this guy got rich. He can't spell the name of the building. And I swear to you, that's how I got my first job.
Really?
I literally went to school and transferred to night classes and went down to the exchange and went and got myself a job.
Really?
And let me finish the story. So now I'm so excited to get this job. I get hired on a Friday, and I'm told to be in 8 o'clock Monday morning. So I take the Staten Island ferry back and forth. And you know, I'm a young kid, and I got a pair of shoes on, and they're not perfect, so I decide to let the shoe shine guy shine up my shoes for me. So the ferry makes its way to Manhattan. He's shining my shoes and taking his sweet old time. And by the time he's done shining, the ferry's on its way back to Staten Island.
Really?
So I called in sick on my first day.
Oh, man.
But I was fired immediately on the phone.
Really? Holy crap.
I literally came in the next day and explained my story and told them, I was just trying to make sure I looked good for the job, and they gave me my job back.
Okay, well, there you go.
Back.
What year was that?
1982.
Really?
Yeah, 1982.
So when you started and you had your first job, what was it like starting off? What did they have you doing?
So there's a job called a runner.
Okay.
So imagine frantic 50 telephones in a little spot. Well, phone. People frantically picking up the phone saying, you want to buy 2 at the market, hold on, and handing it to someone who has to then run to find their broker, hand the trade to their broker, who screams and yells, fills the order, hands it back to you. Your job is to bring it back and report it to the customer. So that's called a runner, and that's how you kind of learn the ropes when you first start working up there.
Really? How long were you in that position?
Well, I was in that position for 3 months, and I used to show up early in the morning and stay late. And I couldn't get any of the other runners to help me. They were afraid to show me the job, I guess, worried about their own jobs.
Yeah.
And then one day I asked a question, 3 months deep. How long have you been running now? Now, running is the low-level position. You know, you have to move from there. And one guy looked at me and said, this will be my 6th year. I said, whoa, you've been running for 6 years? What are you doing here? And I immediately realized I'm in a company that would probably let me. So I went to other companies on the trading floor and basically asked them for jobs. And one of the brokers said, you know, you look like a smart kid, I'll hire you. And I moved to another company, which I kind of moved up the ranks very quickly after that.
Okay, what was the next step after a runner?
So next step after a runner is phone clerk, where you pick up the phones and you have to take the order correctly, because if you're looking to buy something and I sell it by accident, we've got a big serious issue.
Yeah.
You didn't get what you needed, and there's a money issue as well. So you have to learn that. Next step from that would be called a ring clerk, which is an interesting job. All those frantic runners and all those frantic phone call receivers, they have to run to a kid who stands there and grabs the orders over his shoulder from every direction, make sense of it, and dole it out to your brokers that are in the pit. So you have to learn what the orders mean, where the market is at this moment in time. Is this close? Give it to the broker. If it's not close, hold it off to the side, but don't miss it. If the market moves, you have to, so very high pressure.
I was about to say, holy crap.
Oh yeah, the pressure, it was an intense spot to be at.
Yeah.
You couldn't be wrong. If you're wrong, you lose your job.
Yeah, did you run that spot at all?
Oh yeah, I ended up running that spot to a point that they literally dubbed me La Machine.
Really?
Because, you know, it's an interesting place. Many of the people there grew up with their parents already quite wealthy.
Okay.
And they worked down on the trading floor, and daddy would bring them down to the trading floor, and they were never poor in their whole lives.
Gotcha.
And
so you never had to really work hard for anything.
Right. They didn't understand what poor was, but they were terrified of the thought, because they thought poor means your parents, you either rent a house or you have a crappy house, maybe you have a car in the front, maybe you don't, but you know, everyone goes to school and everyone eats.
Yeah.
They think poor means you live in the Bowery in a cardboard box, trying to keep the rain off your head.
Yeah.
So with me, I was never worried with the threat of going broke, which was the biggest threat on that floor. I'll make you go broke, and people would cower. But I thought, well, broke's not bad. That's where I started. I mean, I'm not afraid of it. So I had this, you know, burn the bridges behind me type attitude. And as I started to move up in the ranks, I recognized the power of that threat. Oh yeah, you mess with me, I'll make you go broke. And these kids would get so scared. Oh my God, broke means I'm gonna be in a cardboard box. And I was sort of able to use my attitude to move up there. was able to scare my way into some places.
Yeah, right.
It was interesting.
Man, that's pretty impressive. That position does sound stressful. I could see people just kind of having a heart attack at the end of the day.
You know, I literally have seen it happen. And it's in an environment where it's the pressure and the amount of money that can be lost in this much time. Someone drops off a heart attack, you can't even help them for a minute or two until you straighten out what you're doing, and you can try to sort of pull them out.
Gotcha.
We've actually seen it happen. And you get out of the way, you're going to die somewhere else, but it's going to be expensive for me. So, you know, dog eat dog world is what it is.
I could see sitting in front of the boss. You had a heart attack on my floor. Nobody does that. Yeah, no one. There are no
You're
heart
not allowed
attacks.
to die on my floor. It's going to cost other people money.
Yeah, at least
So-
wait till after 5 o'clock.
So even though the pressure was immense for some, from my background, I made some money. I might end up poor again. Poor was a pretty happy place to be, so it was I was never threatened, so I was able to advance without always being worried that everything would make me broke, whatever broke meant.
Man, and are you being introduced to that position and going through the ranks since '82? What were some of the struggles as you continued through? What were some of the rougher times?
Well, the problem with Wall Street is, if you think sharks have dorsal fins, they've never met Wall Street sharks, because
Really?
their dorsal fins are twice as high as any of the biggest sharks in the ocean. And they come with friendship and a handshake. You know, so through my first 8 or 10 years, making deals with others who were better at the business than me, older than me, sure did teach me lessons.
Really?
You know, I would end up realizing, okay, so we made $1 zillion today, and I get $3 and he gets $1 zillion. You know, deals like that you don't realize as a kid looks glamorous, but you've got a shark teaching you that you shouldn't have gotten involved in that deal. So I made it a point to never sign anything. I have not signed a deal in my whole 39-year career. I handshake the deal so I can step out if it's a shark. And I've
Gotcha.
actually gotten through my whole career with handshake deals.
Really?
Instead of signing, yeah, because there's so many bad deals that would have crushed me had I stayed with them.
Really? Holy smokes.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to say to people, listen, you had other people sign that contract? And they would say, yeah, everyone who works for me. And I would say, are they all blind and dumb? Do they not know how to project in the future? And, you know, I've had people say, well, you remind me of me. You know what? You don't have to sign a contract. Just work for me. And I was able to literally, although I hadn't worked for anyone since I'm 21 years old, to be honest, but that was between 18 and 21. I've had 3 or 4 jobs.
Really?
And then at 21, I ended up working for myself, and I have never worked for anyone again.
And that was it? 21 years old?
I've been
And then you
living
started
the
running your
dream.
own program at that point?
You know, I started trying to figure out what was behind the movement of markets.
Okay.
And at the time, there was something that is now forefront in the world, which I think I've had a lot to do with revolutionizing the industry, but something called technical analysis
Okay.
was considered voodoo, considered insanity. Only you'd have to be a crazy person to follow it. It means reading the graph of the market. And I decided to leave college for computers and go to the New York Institute of Finance to study graphs, and I got blessed because the master of all technical analysis, he's called the godfather of technical analysis, turned out to be my professor at the New York Institute of Finance, but it was before he knew he was going to be that guy.
Really?
So yeah, I got to be with John Murphy, who is literally the godfather who wrote the Bible of analysis. He literally was able to mentor me and train me when I started. And then analysis became, you know, it was always considered voodoo, but YouTube showed up, and I started hitting YouTube really hard with videos in 2006 with Mikey. And from that point forward, I started showing people, you think Wall Street, you think the voodoo on Wall Street is, it's impossible to understand. They make it seem difficult. I am going to show you that if you read a graph is literally just a visual look at all the news, all the reports that have ever come out from the government, the reports of companies for quarterly releases, all of that's built into a chart. And if you can read the chart, you've got this mastered. And I started to show that to the world, and lo and behold, after 80 plus television appearances, thousands and thousands of YouTube videos, tons and tons of seminars, a lot of people in the industry have recognized what analysis could do through my promoting of it, and it's now a mainstream thing.
Really?
Oh, it's absolutely mainstream. And I have people all over the world that contact me constantly to show them how to read the graphs. So now people realize that, you know, the amount of information coming at us today, no matter what your business is, between streaming, the internet, and everything else, it comes at you like a fire hose of information.
100%.
How can any human disseminate all that information and come up with the right answer?
Yeah.
So the chart, because it's not human and it doesn't have child support payments and it doesn't have a BMW to pay for, it's got no feelings. It is pure and simple and will tell you where the market goes next. And I'm absolute living proof that that happens.
Holy smokes. What are, I'm sure that goes a lot deeper than this, but like on a basic level, what are 3 main areas while looking at a chart somebody wants to identify?
So main areas that you'd want to identify is what would be considered the last peak or top, the last trough or bottom, and then the formation that's taking place presently.
Okay.
And this way you've got sort of an indication of how high or low a market should go before it's out of its range. And then if you can figure out, which of course I teach people all the time, what the formation is, it predicts future price movement.
Gotcha. You can look at it and get an idea. This is where it's going to end up in a week from now, or
Absolutely.
2 weeks from now, or whatever.
With
what the trend is.
an extremely high level of accuracy.
Okay.
Ridiculously high level. If you just read the charts purely, and what I tell people is you've got to keep yourself out of the equation. The moment you start thinking, the whole analysis read goes out the window.
Yeah, you bring in that human nature part of it.
That
and
destroys it.
Scarcity or whatever it might be at that point, or even getting too aggressive. It just stick to the science of it, the actual chart, and just forget about all this that's in between these 6 inches at that moment. What we normally do, we react, and then if you're studying the chart, you're good.
Absolutely correct.
Really?
You have to have tunnel vision and recognize that in the trading arena, there is no one born smart enough to get this right automatically. You know, you have companies like Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley paying out hundreds of millions of dollars per year to what they pray are geniuses that can come up with the next market move. No one is born with that ability.
Really?
So you have to learn it, and you have to spend all of your time and basically make the market your master. If the markets are your master, if that's what you're into, and instead of fighting them, you make them your master, and suddenly you have a friend instead of a foe.
That's pretty impressive. How long do you think it takes to actually learn that science, as far as learning the graphs?
So I've been doing this for 39 years, and when I finally learn it completely, I'll let you know.
There you go. There you go. Well, you definitely have it down somewhat. You have a course on it and everything else. Well, I shouldn't say a course. It's more live than anything, correct?
Yeah, it's actually a live course, and I'm live on camera and microphone. So I basically live my life, what used to be on the trading exchange in a pit. Let me see if I can explain this to you. The trading pit is a place where, consider high school recess, perpetual high school recess. You have a bunch of people who are young, who make a little bit too much money for their age and don't know what to do with it, standing in a circle. And when markets are slow, what do? You play liar's poker, you talk about the boat you're going to buy, and when are we going to dinner, and you're ordering bottles of wine for later on. And then the markets get busy, and everybody gets together, and you are busy like it's a heart attack. Everybody is serious. But once the busyness slows down, and we're together 8 hours a day, it might be busy for 2 hours, you've got to kill 6 hours of silly things to do with one another. So, it becomes more of hanging out in a high school, recess moment. So people will, I'll do something like take a $100 bill and fishing string and put fishing string on the bill and throw it out into the crowd, and when someone goes to pick it up, you pull it, and everybody laughs, silly stuff like that to help kill the day. So now, now the trading pits have all closed down, they sent us all home, so now I have a trading room, and that is my trading pit, and I'm the same way. I goof off all day. You don't know what's going to come from me. It could be anything. I have fun all day, but when it's time to get busy, we are Wall Street.
You're all in it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Is that what you can normally expect is about a 2-hour window throughout the day? It's like
slamming sometimes through? 20 hours of straight nonstop every day. Sometimes it'll go for weeks on end without stopping. And then other times it's slow and you have your chance to sort of hang around and you shoot the breeze a little bit.
And go ahead and work on it.
Yeah.
Man, that's pretty impressive, definitely. So there's days where you're not sleeping at pinch, are you?
No, I work 20-hour days most days, 6 days a week. I work Sundays.
What's your secret?
through Friday. So I take a lot of vitamins.
Okay.
I do push-ups. If I get tired, I'll start to do a few push-ups. And I think the markets just keep me so excited. Plus, don't forget, I'm on a live camera and microphone. So it's just an exciting place to be.
Yeah, of course.
I'll take my breaks. I'm human. I live there. And it's called Live with Oscar. And it's really like Live with Oscar. They live with me 24 hours a day. This is how I live. And you either deal with it or leave,
Yeah.
So I'll play music, and some people will write, "Hey, Oscar, it's not really the music I want to listen to." And I'll say, "Do you think I'm playing this for you?
Yeah, exactly.
This has nothing to do with you.
Change the channel.
You're just on my ride, buddy. I'm listening for me."
Yeah.
So, I kid around with them all the time. It's a great thing.
That's funny.
I call them my Omniacs. I've got an army of Omniacs around the world.
And is this the live? Is that on your YouTube? Is that what it is? YouTube live?
I have YouTube. I go live from time to time, but I put out a YouTube video just about every night to tell traders what will happen the next day in the markets. But I have an actual live trading room in my website. So it's like a chat room.
Gotcha.
And if you log in there, it's open 24 hours a day. I keep cameras on most of that time when I feel like being on camera. It's one-way cameras only, so the freaks, don't turn on cameras and I find out someone across the world is weird. So I only project out the cameras.
You
But
never know.
It's a great hangout for traders, non-professional and professional alike.
Okay.
No hostilities. I don't allow any fighting. There's no fighting that goes on around me.
Yeah, you're not going to put up with it.
Markets are too difficult. I don't need social network nonsense around it.
So what do people do? Do they buy into your website, or how does that work?
So the website's absolutely free. No credit cards are required. So you join the website. You can literally log into my trading room and start saying hello to me. If you're an actual trader who's full-time trading in the markets, you can subscribe to my recommendations, and I give out trading recommendations 24 hours a day. So the recommendation is where to buy the stock or commodity, where to put your protective stop in case you're losing, and where to take your profits. And I basically send signals to them until we're back out of the trade each day. And we start on Sunday evening and work till Friday afternoon. And we start up again on Sunday, and it just never ends. But every day it's like being on a roller coaster. It's not the same ever. I've never had two of the same days ever.
Not once.
Oh, it's so exciting now. It's just a great thing to do.
Man, yeah, that makes things a lot more interesting, because it's not getting up. Let me go through this. This is what's going to happen. You're always staying active and staying in it.
Oh yeah, it's nonstop. And then there's the crowd. So if I don't want to be thinking for myself, then I can shoot charts into the trading room and let them see what I think is coming next. And we can go into conversations about how's your son in college, whatever it takes to pass the time.
Really?
While we're waiting for the next market move.
Now, where do they go to actually get the tips and tricks you had mentioned?
So that literally happens in my live trading room.
Okay.
Yeah, they can get them there. And then, of course, on that same site, livewithoscar.com, you can subscribe to the 24-hour a day recommendations. And then, really, the traders who are really trying to get this right, and they're tired of losing money or tired of attempting to do this but always get knocked back a few notches, they'll come out to my 5-day seminar, which is a very exclusive event for 5 traders only. I hand choose them from around the world. I test them to make sure that they are of the quality I'm looking for, and I invite them here into my home office, and they show up on a Thursday. We start work Friday all day into the evening, Saturday all day into the evening, Sunday and Monday, and they graduate and leave on Monday evening.
Okay.
It's an interesting course.
And you said this is an intimate group that you have. It's only a handful of people. You do this.
Yes, I'll receive applications from all over the world, and I'll go through them. And
how many apps do you normally get for each round?
Sometimes I'll get a few hundred. Sometimes I'll get 5 or 6.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, it just depends on.
It's a tough call.
During COVID, it was a lot harder to do.
Yeah.
I didn't do any live seminars for the first 4 months of COVID. Then I rearranged the classroom, so instead of having 5 people, it would hold 2 or 3, but they were far apart. And I continued to do the live seminars just for a smaller group. And that worked out. I'm glad I did that, because there were people who were really desperate, needed the help, and COVID was stopping them from receiving the help. So I toned it down to 50% and still let a few people come out for the year.
Okay.
That was good. I was glad I did that. COVID shut down a lot of people. It didn't shut us down.
When's the next event going to be?
16th of this month, September 16th.
Oh, you're right around the corner.
Yeah, I'm getting ready right now. I just bought all the laptops yesterday.
Okay, nice. So when you're in and you're doing this, are you jamming like all day long with these guys?
Yes.
They're working just
All
like you
day.
do normally.
Oh,
doing
absolutely.
Yeah, there's
They're
no
learning
resting.
a craft that takes most people 20, 25 years to learn because they have to go through all the hurdles. I've removed the hurdles and simplified the process, and I can teach it to them in 4 or 5 days, guaranteed. I've got children, and Mike, who we keep mentioning, who's filming us, my witness, because he's their cousin. I've got children that are probably better chart analysts than anyone from Wall Street. My 16-year-old daughter can probably take anybody for a run for their money from Wall Street. My son Michael, he would blow away anybody. He's amazing. My daughter Olivia as well. They've been doing it since they're children.
Really?
Most people get involved in Wall Street when they're adults. My kids have been involved since they could start writing. So they're very, very good at technical
they've
analysis.
been surrounded
Oh yeah,
by
they're
it
fantastic.
and just dived into it.
I literally will take my children, sometimes Natalie will give me a trade, my 16-year-old, and I'll tell my crowd around the world, guess what? This is from my 16-year-old. Do you want it? And they're all like, yeah, she's better than you. And I put the trade out for her.
Really?
For everybody, yeah, her trade.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
The point behind that is to illustrate how it is transferable to others. If a child can learn it, someone like you can learn it like that.
Yeah, definitely. That's interesting. So those 5 days, that's mostly what we're diving into, is learn the chart. Because you learn the chart, you are the master at the end
Absolutely.
of the day. That's what
If
I'm
you
hearing.
learn the chart, you are the master at the end of the day. You hit it right on the head. Well said.
Holy smokes. And now you're also, you mentioned, also working within, or you have been for 5 years, and now you're getting deeper as far as cryptocurrency as well.
Crypto, absolutely. I have a crypto story. Do we have time?
Yeah, you're fine. You're good to go.
So, I don't know. It has to be 10 years ago now. I hired a kid. Once again, Mikey was around for that. Excuse me. Michael was around for that. We hired a kid and we asked him to build a website for us. And he said, you know, Oscar, I'd love to do that for you, but I want you to pay me in Bitcoin. Now, we're 10 years ago. Right, Bitcoin's a big thing now, but it was kind of new. And it was very inexpensive. And I said, you know, Jeff, I don't really have access to Bitcoin. It's kind of new. It's nothing I trade. I'll pay you in dollars. Do whatever you want with those dollars. And he said, you know what, then I'll do the job for you. And when I'm done, I'm moving to another job because they're willing to pay me in Bitcoin. Great. He does the job, fantastic programmer, great kid. So he leaves and he goes on to the other job, and I don't speak to him for a while. And it turns out Michael, who we keep mentioning, runs into him and says, Jeff, how have you been? And Jeff says, oh, I'm a retired millionaire and I travel the world for fun. And I thought, hold on a moment, hold on. Now he was 21. Now he's 25 or 26. I'm twice his age. I'm not retired yet. I ran out and bought Bitcoin that weekend. I went and did my analysis, came up with a projection. I bought a bunch of Bitcoin. And 5 years later, to the day, literally in my YouTube videos every day, I would say, Bitcoin's going to 35,000. It was only a few $100s. And I would tell them it's going to be 5 years to this day, Bitcoin will go to 35,000. And people thought I was crazy, and I bought it and showed it to them in my video on my phone. And every video I mentioned it for the next 4.5 years after that day. And 5 years to the day, Bitcoin hits 35,000, just like I projected. And that really made me start to pay attention. And now if I showed you my phone, I've got a ton of Bitcoin on my phone. I offer Bitcoin trades at my site. I talk about crypto all the time. I've got 7 or 8 different cryptos that I already own. And I think it is absolutely the future. I don't think that all of them that are out there are worth trading. A lot of them are like penny stocks. But if you stick to the mainstream, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano maybe a little bit, if you stick to those, you make a lot of money in this game.
You'll do well.
Those are the big ones. Everything else is sort of like a lotto ticket.
Gotcha.
Or buying a penny stock and praying that the company one day gets purchased from another company. Those, I don't mess with any of that. But if it's highly tradable and Wall Street pays attention to it, those are the ones But I do crypto all the time now. I love it.
Now, what about as far as when it comes to crypto with reading graphs? Is it a different animal?
Exactly the same.
Really?
So
okay.
Stocks, crypto, commodities, I literally, another quick story, on the trading floor, because they used to call it voodoo and they used to make fun of the 2 people on the exchange that actually did technical analysis, me and an older man. one day they came to me with a chart, but they cut off what the chart was for. So the top was cut, and it was just a graph and numbers. And they said, would you tell us where the market will be tomorrow? So I did my analysis and went over it and came up to them and said, okay, whatever market this is tomorrow, it will be higher. And they laughed at me. It was the weather chart. Well, the next day the weather was higher. It was a little hotter out, and we all had a big laugh. But point is, the analysis, charts and technical analysis seems to work in every single industry that I've applied it to so far.
Really?
I have not met it in ETFs. If you apply it, it seems to work.
Speaking of that, you just mentioned something. What about NFTs? Are you familiar with that?
Oh, sure. Okay. So non-fungible tokens.
Yes.
They are actually backed by Ethereum. And anything that art on the wall, you can scribble if you want on a piece of paper and make that an NFT. And if somebody wants to buy it, it now has a value.
Do you buy into it?
I haven't. So I bought a company called AMP instead, who is behind the processing of NFTs and Ethereum and helps the processing through the blockchain work faster than the way it is right now. So instead of actually buying NFTs, I own Ethereum and the company that sort of backs.
Gotcha.
But I don't think it's a bad idea. At first I thought, who needs a piece of art that's only on your phone? That you can never hang on your wall? You pay $2 million for something that could not even be put on your wall? So I thought it was crazy, but what I'm realizing is it's got two values. It's got the value of the art itself. So if you put something out there for $250 and it sells, now it's got a value of $250, the art itself. But the art's made in Ethereum, and if Ethereum goes up, the art goes up in value, even if the artist isn't making good art. So you've got two sources of being able to increase the value of that piece of art, which is very interesting. So yes, I think NFTs are a thing that you should buy. Just be careful which ones you buy.
Yeah, because there's all different types out there, from moments with famous basketball players to you name it. So a buddy of mine, he's really into it, and I don't know a whole lot about it, but it sounds really impressive. These guys are getting a moment of a famous jump shot, whatever it might be, and people are paying millions and millions.
Millions, but that gives it value, just like any piece of art. So what I've noticed in today's world is, even if it's not worth something, if someone pays that price, it now has a new value. So we had basketball change its value and price, basketball teams. A few years back, an older basketball owner made a racial slur, got himself booted from the team. They took the team away from him. Well, one of the owners of Microsoft looked at that team and said, how much do you want for it? They wanted a few $100 million for it. He said, no. You're getting $2 billion for the team. Here's $2.5 billion. That's how much your team's worth. You know why? Now the whole neighborhood's worth $2.5 billion. And he put a price of $2.5 billion or $2 billion on the basketball team, and now every other team is suddenly worth billions of dollars. So NFTs, when someone puts a price, that's the new price, and the whole world says, okay, now that NFT is worth that price, and like fine art, and away it goes from there.
Man,
So
that's
it's very
super
interesting.
impressive. Yeah, definitely a whole different world. I remember when crypto was just starting to, well, I can't say just start coming around. When I started hearing about it was when I moved to Vegas in 2012. And there were some guys in the office. I was doing timeshare at the time. They said, yeah, this Bitcoin, it's a digital coin. And everybody's like, that sounds crazy. No, don't even get involved. And at that time, it was dirt cheap, just like you had said.
Sure.
Probably was $100, whatever it might be. Had to be at that time, right?
But it seemed like a scam then.
Yeah,
right? If you
100%.
took a shot then, it seemed like you were just playing with some weird internet penny stock thing that is a scam, so to speak. That's sort of the way it looked in the beginning. So myself, like you, I stayed away in the beginning, but once I realized it was here to stay.
Yeah, then you took a serious look at it. And you had a 25-year-old retire. Friend of yours. That was enough right there. That was enough right there.
I've been doing this my whole life, and you're retired?
Holy smokes. Well, I couldn't tell you how much I appreciate you coming out tonight and give us some insight and walking us through what you really do. Before we leave tonight, one of the things where you had mentioned is learning that course throughout a 5-day session sounds unbelievable and definitely hard to get into. But you did mention one other thing as well. For people that can't make it in, you can actually log into a live via Zoom as well. which is
Absolutely.
like nothing as far as I'm concerned. I mean, people spend more than that on a dinner out here in Vegas, and they can just go ahead if they can't get into your house, but you have it at your house, correct, or your office?
Well, sort of, yes, in my home office.
Okay, your home office. So there's people around the world that just log into this as well, correct?
Absolutely.
Perfect. And where would they go to find that?
So you would go to livewithoscar.com.
Perfect.
And from there, the website is free of charge, so not even a credit card is required. And we do that on purpose, so we don't want to ask you for too much information, because we're offering you just a free ride to hang out with me while I go through my Wall Street trading life every day. And then from there, people tend to realize that I'm actually a true Wall Street professional with all the experience, and I'm not just a make-believe, someone who knows how to advertise well, and once you get there, I'm not full of substance. They realize they just landed on the doorstep of a total pro that from Wall Street that allows them to look over his shoulder, which is what I do.
100%.
I let them sit with me all day long.
Yeah, and like the sharks over there in Wall Street, that's never going to happen.
No, they won't. They're not nice to people at all.
No.
And they use every bit of jargon that they can come up with to scare you, and things that you won't understand. And they show figures and everything so hard, but it's not as hard as they say it is.
Really?
It's
That's
just to
pretty
make
impressive.
people hand their money over to them so that they don't want to handle their own money. It's too scary. We're the only ones who know how to do it, so give it to us on Wall Street.
There you go.
That's their plight there.
Nice. Well, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I had a great time here.
It's a great show, definitely. And you heard it. OscarLive.com, correct?
Livewithoscar.com.
Livewithoscar.com. Come check it out. If you want to see how money works, come in, check out the charts, get into it, learn some crypto, learn, see what we can do with stock market. It's time to make your money work for you. Till next time, my friend Oscar.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for tuning in.
See you soon.
Shaking It Up with the Sharks. Starring Johnny Richardson and Katie Meadows.